So, the first thing we're going to look at today is what is 3D printing and why is it important? So, in our semester recap at the end of last semester, we sort of brushed upon this a little bit. So, the main things you need to know are that 3D printing is the process of constructing a three-dimensional object from what's called a computer-aided design modeling program. So, as you can probably guess, Fusion 360 is what we call a computer-aided design program, or CAD. And what you can do, of course, as you know, is make a virtual object and bring it to life with the 3D printer. And how it does this is it lays down several thin layers of material over and over in succession. Um, so as for why it's important to 3D print and why it's such an incredibly useful skill for all of you to have, is because it allows your ideas to sort of be brought into reality. And this is incredibly useful in the real world. 3D printing is cheap, relatively, once you get started. It's quick, it's flexible, it's not that difficult to learn, and it's a skill that can really open up so many doors for you. Both in college and once you leave college and go into the real world. So I sort of brushed upon this before, but there are a few ways that this can be used in industry and in the academia worlds. And these are just a couple that I found to be important. Um, Additive manufacturing is what you do in engineering and sort of in industry. And what happens is you use a 3D printer to build various parts for a larger system. So say if you have like maybe like a turbine or something, and you have a small part that breaks, you sort of are faced with two options. You could either buy a replacement part, which is oftentimes expensive and it takes a long time to ship, or you could just 3D print your own. And that's why companies have really taken on to 3D printing in recent years. Um, so another aspect is 3D printed bioorgans and more functional human prosthetics. So for anyone in biomedical engineering, this is huge and it is really up and coming, and it's just going to continue to grow in the coming years. So very important use of it. For civil engineering, it's great to build affordable housing. They have giant 3D printers, as I've told you before, that can literally build houses from the ground up. And finally, in electrical engineering, you have there's many applications, but one that I thought was interesting is building case enclosures for circuit boards and mounting point for switches and connectors and things like that. Apparently, that saves a ton of money because those things are extremely expensive. So I sort of made a little bit of a flow chart just to, as a quick reminder. Once again, this is just a review. So the entire 3D printing process, how it starts is you have an initial idea or an initial problem, like say you need to 3D print a part for a system. So you can bring that to life virtually by using Fusion 360 software after you get the proper measurements and size for whatever you're making. Then what you do is you take your final design, you export it out of Fusion and into Cura, and you slice it and prepare it for printing. And then when you have your slice design, you export it from Cura to the printer, and that is where the entire printing process begins. And of course, the final product is 3D printed, cooled down, and you are ready for your final use. So I'm just going to do a quick review of some of the features we learned and some of the things we haven't gone over yet. All of these are going to be super important for the projects we do this semester. We're still finalizing those, but they definitely will be taking place soon. So I ask that you pay attention to this because it's super important and it's really going to help you in the long run. So we start off with sketching. As I've said before, sketching is when you basically just draw. It's almost like drawing on a piece of paper. You're drawing in two dimensions. That's how you start every three-dimensional object in Fusion 360, and then you take it from there and take it from the ground up when you go into three dimensions. So I'm just going to go over some of the sketching tools really quick, just in case you forgot. So, um, as you know, this is our home screen in Fusion 360. So you have your Create Sketch button right here. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Select a plane that you want to work on. And then it opens up all of your sketching tools right here. So now we have the ability to sketch in 2D, and we're going to do that. So the first thing I wanted to remind you of is the line tool. Very, very simple, probably the most simple tool on this program. You just select it, pick a point, and then drag or type in a distance that you want to use. And you can keep going and sort of make your own custom shapes and whatever you want, as long as the lines are linear and straight for this object. So that's very important. Go ahead and get rid of that. The next thing is the 2-point rectangle. Again, very simple. You place where you want your corner to be, you drag it out and click, and there you go. You have a rectangle. So that saves you time instead of, say, making 4 lines. It just allows you to do that in 2 clicks, which is much easier. And then you have your center diameter circle, of course, which is again very straightforward. You just pick a center point, drag outwards, or select a distance that you want, and you have a perfect circle. So, and then we did the fit point spline. When we were making the nameplates, that's how we essentially got them to be curved to the right a little bit. So for a curved line, instead of 2 points, you're going to need to obviously select 3 points. So I would pick my second point here, and then say I could pick my third point right here. And that gives you sort of a nice curved line. And you could go ahead and finish the sketch, and it shows you what that would look like from a different angle. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Oh, there's one more thing, the mirror tool. So this is something that we didn't go over, but it's extremely important. So what this does is it allows you to take a sketch and basically mirror it across a line. And there's multiple ways to do this, but I think that the most efficient way is to have your initial sketch right here, ready to go. And then you don't want to create an actual sketch of a line that you're going to rotate it over. The best thing to do is go over here to your sketch palette, click on construction, and this allows you to create a line that's not permanent, I guess you could say. So it's just a line that you're going to use for the construction. So now that we have our construction line, we're going to hit finish sketch. Okay. And then create sketch on this plane. You're going to hit mirror, select the object. Oh, this might not work. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, hold on. So this is a good point to learn from. I finished the sketch a little bit too early. So starting over, create sketch, select a plane, and then say that we wanted to make this spline again. Okay. And then you are going to click on the construction tool, line. You're going to make a line right here. And like I said, that's the line that we're going to rotate it across. Mirror, select your object, select the line that you want to mirror it over. And as you can see, it sort of finished it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, finish sketch, and you have a line that sort of mirrored itself over this axis. So that's super, super useful when you want to repeat certain sketches. And we'll definitely be using this more with the projects and everything we have planned for this semester. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. Some more important tools, especially when you want to repeat things, are the pattern tools. So there are 2 of them that we've learned so far, and this is the rectangular pattern and the circular pattern. So I'm guessing that you guys remember this. We used it in a couple of our workshops last semester. So say that you have a circle on a two-dimensional plane right here. And what you're going to go ahead and do is finish that sketch, press create, pattern, rectangular pattern. This is going to be our object. Select, yeah. So you are going to create your circle, sketch it, and then go back down to the create menu. Click on rectangular pattern, select this as your object, and then this is the overall distance that you want the pattern to repeat over. So say if I put in 100 millimeters, it's going to take this all the way out to here. And then however many circles I tell it to put within that distance, it's gonna do. So let's try that. 100 millimeters of distance, and then we will do 2 circles. So what it does is it repeats this pattern over a distance of 100 millimeters. So you could go ahead and click OK and let that happen. And with that tool, you could also do this in the XY direction as well. So the other tool for patterns is the circular tool. So say that you wanted to repeat this circle as many different circles in one overall larger circle. So you're going to go to create circular pattern. This is our object. Center point can be anything, but I'm going to pick the origin. Oh, it says there's 2 selected. So select this, center point is the origin, and then you select your quantity, let's say 15, and there you go. You kind of get that overall circular pattern of one sketch, which is super useful. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and I'm going to clear the workspace once again. And then the next thing, as we've also seen before, is the revolve tool. So I'm just going to show you why this is such a useful tool, in addition to the extrude tool, to take something from 2 dimensions into 3. So let's create an object like this. So then what we're going to do is we're going to press finish sketch. And you can see all of these new tools pop up. So we're going to use the revolve tool right here. Our profile is going to be the line we just created. Just messing up with this. Sorry about that. So create your sketch, and then you are going to finish it, revolve. For some reason, it will not select this tool. I've been having issues with the revolve tool. I'll try it one more time. Okay, so it looks like it worked there. So what I did is I selected this square as my my surface, and then what I did is my axis of rotation I selected as this y-axis right here, and then it rotates it 360 degrees. So what it did there was it took my square and it rotated it, essentially turning it into a cylinder. So that's incredibly useful as well. And then of course, after that, we have our finalizing tools, which are the extrude, the shell, and the fillet tool. Once again, these are, extrude is very useful for going from 2 to 3 dimensions. So I'm going to show you once again how to do that. So as I just did with that, starting with that square, of course, there's many ways to do different things. So now I'm going to do that with a circle, but a different way. Click on that. Go ahead and finish the sketch. Click on extrude. Click on my surface. And then for distance, I'm going to say 45 millimeters, for example. And as you can see, once again, I just created a cylinder, but that was a different way to do it. And both of these tools have their own uses, but that's just one good example of how you can do two different things, or excuse me, how you can do the same thing with two different tools. So say that this was our final project, but we wanted to make it look a little bit better. So something you can do is use the fillet tool. And you can select as many edges as you want. So I'm going to select this outer ring of the circle. And I'm going to tell the program to add a fillet of 5 millimeters. So you can see it rounded that edge right there. And that's very useful in things like manufacturing, making things look nice and professional. Usually you don't want sharp edges, so that's a great tool to use. And then finally, I'm going to use my view cube to go to the front section. And I'm going to show you the last modify tool that is very useful for what we're doing in this workshop, which is the shell tool. So you're going to go ahead and select the body or face that you want to shell, which is this one. Inside thickness, let's start with 5, and maybe let's try 7. Okay, that looks good. So the direction, we set it to be inside, although you could also do outside where it shells it to come out towards you, but this is usually more useful. So there you go. It made the inside of this feature hollow, which, as you could imagine, is again super useful. So that is it for the important tools that I wanted to make sure you knew before we start our projects. And the last step when you're in Fusion 360 is saving your work and exporting it. So what we do is we save our work up here, and then you're going to go ahead and click File, Export, and this allows you to export it to your computer. And as we mentioned, you always want to make sure that you're saving and exporting as a .stl or .obj file, and that's going to make sure that things go smoothly in Cura. So this next part, I'm going to hand it over to Nikki, and she's going to remind you of some of the things that'll help you with your prints in Cura.
Thanks, Alex. So first, like you just said, we will be importing either an STL or an OBJ file. Typically, we're going to stick to using STL. It's okay to use OBJ. You might find some OBJ files on the internet if you're downloading files to print, but primarily we stick to .stl. In Cura, we talked about the different things you can do. You can move it, you can rotate it, you can scale it, make it bigger, make it smaller. You can make certain aspects of it scale up, or you can snap scale it so it all scales the same way. You can mirror your project, and also you can get a little bit more in depth and adjust the print settings. So what we were doing during the semester, we were using the basic print settings that were the infill and the supports and everything like that. We didn't really get into the specifics because really what the Cura comes programmed with for your 3D printer that you pre-select, there are good settings, they're good to start with, they're good for beginners. And, you know, once you get more experienced, you can go into, you know, more complex settings. Next slide, please. So after you've transformed your print however you would like, you slice it. It's everyone's favorite blue button. We love when we get to the point of slicing our print because it means we're done, we're getting ready to print it. Next, after you slice, it's going to give you a printing time, show you how much plastic it's going to use in grams, And at that point, you'll just click Save to File, which is right in the spot that the slice button was. And you're going to save it as a G code. And there you can pre-select from your computer's menu to save straight onto your SD card. So you don't have to do any dragging and dropping or any searching later on. After you do that, if you save your file to your SD card, of course, you'll take it out of your computer, the little converter you've got it in, and you're going to insert it into your printer. Depending on what printer you've got, it could be in the front or the back. In our case, the one we've been using is right in the front, right underneath the bed on the opposite side of the LED display. So we'll pop that right in there. And then we will go to our LED display. We'll turn on the printer. We'll give it a second to power on and warm up. And then we will go to the main menu and scroll down to Print from TRF. And that is going to let you access the memory card within the printer. And from there, it'll take you to a menu. And from there, you can see all of your projects that you've saved onto your SD card. And you can save multiple. If you really like one print and you think you want to come back and do it again, for example, I did some planters and I wanted multiples of them. I just kept that file on there. Whenever I had some time, I just put another one to print. After that, it's happy printing. Your print will start. Your printer will go to auto home and it will begin its print. For the final product, once you have completed your print, it's been the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours or 22 hours you need for your print. You're going to turn off your printer and wait for the print to cool. And alternatively, you could go in manually and turn off the bed temperature, but it's easier just to turn off your printer, let it cool down. You want to make sure that it's solid when you remove it, otherwise it'll get warped, it'll get scuffed, and you don't want that for your final product. For removing it, if you do not have the magnetic sheet that comes on top of some printer beds, you're going to carefully use your spatula to pry it off the bed. In our case, I do believe that every one of us has a magnetic cover on our bed. So what we would do is we would gently peel it off, and then your print will still be stuck to it. And from there, you can peel off your print. But the reason we want to gently peel off that magnetic cover is because we do not want to mess with the bed leveling. We remember how much of a pain in the butt that is. So again, gently remove it no matter which way you're doing it. And from there, you get to enjoy your 3D printed creation. So up next for the semester, in the next week, you'll be getting a syllabus. It'll detail the worksheets, the projects we will be offering for the semester, and our poster board final project. You will also be getting a rubric for the final project. So don't freak out. It's not going to be something out of your reach. Everything will be given to you, and all the tools that you need will be right in front of you. I'm also inviting you guys to one of our AICHI general body meetings. Our guest speaker will be Dr. Rama, and he's going to be talking about the applications of 3D printing and his research at the College of Engineering. It's on February 4th at 6:30 p.m., and I will send you all an email invite. Also, to come in the semester, it's looking like we are going to be breaking it up into 2 sections. The first section we will be doing is more tutorials and more printing lessons, giving you guys more of a theoretical background knowledge on all the things you're using, all the materials you're touching. Then we will talk more about the semester projects in the second half of the semester. And I think, Blake, you are the only one. I don't know what she plans on studying in college. And I see that she has left the meeting, so I'll follow up with her on that. But we do want to provide everyone a project that caters to the career or the career field that they plan to go into. So to give you guys a little opportunity to get your hands wet with some real life knowledge about the field you're interested in. So we're looking forward to that. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
All I just want to say is that that sounds really interesting. I'm really excited to do that.
Awesome. That makes me happy that you're excited for that, because that's our goal here. And if there's anything you guys want to see, we have an open line of communication. Please let us know at any time. What's different about this semester is that our lessons will be bi-weekly instead, to give you guys a little bit of time in between to absorb. We'll be giving you a little bit more of extra materials so that we will have both lessons you can access with us and alongside us, and lessons you can access on your own for extracurricular enrichment. So all of that will be supplied to you, and all for your benefit. If you guys have any questions at any time, like I said, feel free to reach out. Alrighty,
Thank,
guys. I will see you in 2 weeks from today on Thursday at 3:30.
all right. Thank you so
All
much.
right. You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.
So we have